The North Inlet Winyaw Bay National Estuarine Research Reserve established a long-term monitoring site in the North Inlet Estuary in 2008. A total of 6 transects of 9 to 10 permanent plots each span the elevation incline from creek bank to forest edge. Measurements at each plot include surface elevation, tidal inundation, sediment edaphic factors, which concerns the influence of soils on plants, pore water salinity, nutrient and sulfide concentrations, as well as measurements of plant community, stem density, and canopy height. Surface elevation tables were installed in the upper and lower portions of each transect. The data collected will allow us to quantify how changes in the marsh flooding over time affect the spatial structure of the marsh platform, as well as the ability of marsh vegetation communities to migrate horizontally in response to increasing sea level rise.
Okay, so we need to subsample plots 6, 7, and 9. So 6 is going to be right below 2, and then 7 is to the right.
Right here?
Yep. And then if you want to take the subplot from 1, and 9 is going to be right to the bottom of like 6. Yeah, kind of like there. Yep. Okay. And then we need to count our seed.
All right. So what we're doing here is taking samples within the samples because there's so many different species and so many stems that we need to count. We're going to get confused if we don't do it that way. All right.
Okay. I'm going to start in number 7, which is the far right one.
All right. So start tying up. Okay. So this transect over 10 years has not grown a single thing. It's because it is way too salty here. So Eric, our former research coordinator and now manager, told us that the salinity here is way over 100 parts per thousand. Salt water is normally 30 to 35, and it hasn't been able to grow anything because it's way too salty. But you can see there's plants behind us growing. That's because the tide comes in and goes out, and that water dries up here. The sun dries it out. Now if you point the camera over there, you can actually see plants behind it. So why is there not plants here, but there's plants back there further towards the forest? That's because when it rains, that runoff allows for water to seep in and feed the plants.
So you commented on the lush brown dirt sediment here. It's rare up in the high marsh to see this open, muddy area. There's open areas in the salt pan that are natural, but this was all the result of Hurricane Matthew 5 years ago that deposited 3 feet thick amounts of wrack. You can see the last little bit remnants of it, and it just smothered the vegetation in this area. This area used to be predominantly all juncus and a few other species in it. This past winter, with a big nor'easter storm, the last remnants of it, like this, were lifted out of the marsh.
This long-term monitoring project is an important aspect to get a better idea on how North Inlet is responding to sea level rise, hurricanes, and high tides. Thank you all for watching.